What's up, everybody? I'm James Withy, and today we're going to talk about 5 red flags that make me turn down clients during consultations. All right, so at the time that I'm making this video in the year 2021, I feel like tattooing is maybe the busiest that it's ever been during my 9-year career. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because of like the stimulus checks or people have like a, pent up urge to spend after being locked down so long in 2020. But yeah, I feel like definitely right now we're at the time where the demand for tattoos, especially good tattoos, is quite a bit higher than what the supply is. So it's getting increasingly more difficult for clients to get in with good artists. And I feel like good artists are either closing their books up if they're getting too booked out, or they're being quite a bit more selective about who they tattoo. So to kind of round about to my point of why I'm making this video is I feel like, with tattoo artists that have a pretty decent amount of people trying to get work done by them, we tend to get a lot more selective about who we take on as clients and who we choose to tattoo. And in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline 5 red flags that happen during tattoo consultations when I'm first interacting with clients that make me not want to tattoo them and essentially find an excuse to turn them away. So I'm making this so that you can kind of avoid doing these things. If you are a would-be tattoo collector and you're looking to collect from either me or just anybody else out there that has the ability to be a little bit more picky about who they tattoo, and just try to educate some people on tattoo etiquette. And maybe this will be useful for tattooers that are out there that have a hard time with difficult clients often and need a little bit of an outline on how to spot those difficult clients and make it so they don't really have to work with them and stress themselves out. Because let's face it, anybody like me that's been tattooing for a pretty long time has had their fair share of difficult clients throughout the years. And when you have a bunch of clients that are cool, which the vast majority of mine are, it makes it really unenjoyable to work with people that are going to just make your life more difficult and make your job harder unnecessarily. And I feel like I've had other tattooers tell me that, I get really lucky with all the cool clients or whatever, but a lot of it has to do with the read that I get on people during the consult and whether or not they're going to be problematic clients, because it's not just enough to have enough money to get a tattoo. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that watch this video and they're going to be like, well, if I have money, then you should fucking tattoo me. And that's, the customer's always right or whatever. But that's not the case when you start to get to a point in your career where, like I said, you have more people trying to get tattooed by you than you can possibly do. And I feel like the problematic clients tend to almost overshadow the good clients and how much effort and work it takes to satisfy them and make them happy. And in my personal case, I'd rather just not deal with them. So in this video, I'm just going to go ahead and outline some things that are red flags that suggest to me that somebody might be a problematic client. And, those are the people that I end up choosing not to tattoo. And we'll go ahead and get into that right now. So the first red flag that makes me totally turns me off and makes me not want to work with somebody is when they try to do a consultation through proxy. And what I mean by that is when they have someone else try to handle the consultation for them, somebody that's not actually going to get the tattoo, whether it's a family member, it's their parent, or a spouse. Oftentimes it's a husband, and they'll call into the shop or whatever and start talking to me on the phone about what their wife wants to get and where on the body and how much money she has to spend and all these different things, what her timeline is. And sometimes they'll do it in person too, where a couple of clients will walk in and one of them is the one that's going to get the tattoo, but the other one is the one that's doing all the talking in terms of well, this is what he wants and this is what he was thinking and all that sort of shit. And oftentimes they'll even pull out their phone and be showing me pictures of references or whatever and being this is what he wants to get right here. And the first thing that I think when somebody kind of comes into the shop or calls me on the phone with that sort of situation is why the fuck am I even talking to you? You're not the one getting the tattoo, so I don't really understand why you're here, almost buffering this situation. I want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, in terms of what they want out of the piece, because I feel like the tattoo should be a collaborative process between the person that's doing it and the person that's getting it, and nobody else should really be involved. And when it comes to like the situation where people will call in over the phone and like talk about how their wife wants to get a tattoo, or like they email me or something and say, hey, my wife wants to get this or whatever. It almost makes me like think like, is your wife even a real fucking person, or like, is she like just some imaginary like being that you made up or whatever? Like, I know that's a small possibility, but that's like the first impression I get is like, well, it almost makes it seem like this isn't a serious inquiry. And that there's a small chance that maybe they're just fucking me around and pulling my leg or whatever, because there is no direct communication going on between me and the person I'm actually going to be doing business with. So when it's phone or email, that's kind of how it seems. When it's in person, I feel like the reason it's a big red flag for me when somebody starts trying to do a consultation through proxy is because, let me explain this first. I feel like one of the things that makes me avoid working with any clients is if I feel like they're not going to be happy with the tattoo that I do on them. I only want to do tattoos that people like and people enjoy. I want people to feel satisfied with the work that I do for them. And when I don't really like have that direct communication with the person that's actually getting it, I don't feel confident that like we're connecting in terms of our vision for the piece or whatever. And it makes me feel like there's a higher likelihood that I'm just going to do whatever this person wants that's not getting the tattoo that's talking to me. And that when I actually do the piece on the person that's getting it, there's going to be some sort of like a miscommunication, and I might end up, not knocking it out of the park the way that I want to, because I didn't hear it directly from them, like what they actually want. And I don't know if that sounds weird, but I just, don't want there to be like a situation where it's like one of those telephone games where like one person tells something to another person, that person interprets it and then goes and tells it to another person. That's how it feels. It's like the person that is giving me all this information that's not actually getting the tattoo, it's going through their filter or whatever in terms of their style of communication and them expressing desires or whatever that maybe the other person's told them, or maybe they just made up out of their own fucking head. And then I'm going to interpret that, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn that into a tattoo on this person. And it might end up being a situation where shit gets lost in translation. And I just really don't feel comfortable in that sort of situation. And at the same time, it almost feels like you're a grown ass like woman, you're a grown adult or a man or whatever it is. Like if it's a mom speaking for their 21-year-old son or whatever, like you're a grown up. So you should be able to handle this on your own. And if you're not confident enough or not mature enough to do that, then it makes me, I can't get an idea what kind of person you are if somebody else is speaking for you all the time. And matter of fact, if I do get an idea what kind of person you are, it's just that you are immature and incapable of handling adult things by yourself, such as scheduling a tattoo appointment and getting a tattoo, which obviously is a fairly serious thing. So definitely I try to avoid those type of situations. And when people have, recently hit me up with that style of consultation or communication, I just straight up tell them like, hey, I don't do consultations through proxy. If your wife wants to get tattooed, have her send me an email, have her give me a call, have her come into the shop and talk to me directly, because the reality is there really doesn't need to be any other person there besides her. Okay, so the second red flag that I want to talk about that like instantly turns me off and makes me not want to tattoo somebody is if their primary concern during the consultation or like initial interaction is obviously price. And, before I get into this, let me preface it by saying like, I understand tattoos are expensive, and I understand that you do need to have some sort of a ballpark estimate to understand what you're getting into, so you can weigh all the options financially. And I'm not talking about just like trying to figure out how much a tattoo costs. I'm talking about when like they just keep on circling back to that over and over, or maybe even start like trying to haggle with the price and like try to get me to come down from whatever estimate it is that I've given them, or maybe even do a tattoo that's not the best I can do, but it's just something that's cheaper within their price range. A really common example of this would be like when a client asks me how much a tattoo would cost, and then I'll tell them how much it's going to cost, and then they will tell me that they know somebody else that will do it for cheaper, or they can get a better deal somewhere else or something like that. And my response to that is always like, well, if you can get it done somewhere else cheaper, then go and get it done by that person. Like, I really don't give a fuck who you get tattooed by. So not only is this kind of, I don't know, disrespectful to a tattoo artist to say, hey, I can go get it done cheaper somewhere else. I mean, because we obviously know you're full of shit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be standing in front of me asking me to give you a tattoo or whatever. Not only that, but it's not like an apples to apples type of comparison. Like, every tattooer has like a different style that they do. Every tattooer, has different skill levels or whatever. So if you ask me for like, I don't know, a tiger portrait or something like that on your outer upper arm, and I say, hey, that's probably going to cost you like $1,500 or $1,800 or whatever to get that whole half sleeve done. And they say that somebody else will do it for $900 or $1,000. That doesn't necessarily mean that like their tattoo that they do isn't going to look like the tattoo that I do. And I'm not saying that it's going to be worse necessarily. Fuck, maybe they just don't charge a lot of money and they're better than I am or whatever. But like, it's a unique thing that each tattooer will produce. That's pretty much like a one-off. Even if it's a realistic reference or something that's done from the same exact picture, it's going to look different when I do it as opposed to when somebody else does it. So comparing what I charge for my work doesn't really make any sense if you're trying to compare it to what somebody else charges for their work, So when somebody's coming and getting a price quote from me, they're asking me how much it would cost if they got it from me, and I'm telling them that, and that's pretty cut and dry in my opinion, So when people start acting like they can go and get it somewhere else cheaper, actually the reality is, no, you can't. You can't get a tattoo from me from somebody else cheaper, because the only tattoos that are done from me are done fucking by me, right? So saying that you can get it done somewhere else cheaper definitely is like a huge red flag. Trying to price shop or like trying to, I don't know, circle things back around in the conversation during the consultation to like, well, what if we did it this way? Would it be cheaper? What if we did it that way? Or we shrunk this down or made this smaller? Could I get it done cheaper? If it's just like one or two questions like that, then of course I'll oblige. And sometimes I do try to work with people's budgets, especially if like they're younger or they have the type of job where they do have to save up quite a bit for the tattoo. So I'm not like totally against like some sort of discussion about price or how they can make it more affordable for themselves. But if that seems to be the primary concern and it circles back around to that over and over and over, then what it does is it kind of makes me think that maybe you just can't afford the tattoo. And that if I schedule the appointment with you and you're not the type of person that's managing your finances correctly, it's a very high likelihood that you're going to end up like no call, no showing, or just like rescheduling constantly and just being one of those problematic clients that kind of fucks up my workflow. So, I try not to deal with that too often. Maybe another example of that would be like if the client comes in and asks me whether or not they can just do like 2 or 3 hour sessions on the tattoo so that it won't be like a huge lump sum of money every single time and they can make it cheaper for themselves. Or if they ask for these sessions to be spread pretty far apart, like every 3 months or 6 months or something like that. And I'm just really not interested in doing that because I want to finish tattoos quickly if they're multiple session. That way I kind of don't have to like refigure out what I'm doing every single time that I get back into that piece. It just kind of tends to happen more fluidly and efficiently, and it's better for like my portfolio in terms of, getting pieces finished that are at a certain time period of like stylistically how I tattoo during that time period or what my skill level's at during that time period. It's just a lot better for that, because if people are coming back every 6 months or every year, then a lot of times the way that I've tattooed has changed. And, it's not really like when I finish the piece, it just feels like it's not like an accurate representation of where my skill level is at or what I'm doing stylistically at that time. So for all those reasons, I try not to spread the appointments apart. But I feel like I'm rambling a little bit now. But that does kind of tie into people trying to figure out how to make the entire thing more financially manageable, which, like I said, is okay. But if it's to that extent, then I'd rather just not tattoo the person, because I'm not like a financial advisor or something like that. I'm just a tattooer, and it's not really my job to make it so that you can afford getting tattooed by me. Now, the third red flag is actually going to be like the opposite situation, where sometimes I'll get these clients that will come in and they will like try to throw their shit around, like their weight around in terms of how much money they have or whatever. And I don't know, usually it's like some big bodybuilder, like bro motherfucker that thinks that he's like super entrepreneur, fucking ultra paid, I own my own business, and I get hella cheese and shit and money's no object. I have an unlimited budget or whatever. Those are usually the same motherfuckers that will come into the shop and ask me, like if I tell them I'm booked out 5 months or something like that, they'll ask me if they can pay me extra to jump the line and get ahead of everybody else that has already booked with me, or something like that. Like they just try to like figure out some way to like financially like cheat the system and circumvent everybody that's already been waiting. And that's a fucking huge red flag for me, because like when I say that I'm booked out 5 months, I'm actually booked out 5 months. Like I can't fucking squeeze you in because it's already been squeezed as much as it possibly can in terms of my available days. So there is no way to jump the line unless I get like a cancellation or something like that. And, I can put you on a short list. But when people are doing that, it also turns me off because it's like kind of disrespectful to my other clients. Like just because you have more money doesn't necessarily mean that, I'm going to jump all over that and be like, fuck yeah, I'm going to tattoo you, and just like start rescheduling and burning these other clients that have already been waiting for several months to get tattooed by me. And if somebody has that sort of attitude, then it starts making me think that maybe we're not even going to get along as people. And if we're not going to get along as people, then I'm not going to want to spend, dozens and dozens of hours over the course of many months tattooing on you, like multiple session work, because I got to spend all that fucking time in the room with you. And if you're a douchebag, then I'm not going to get along with you. And I don't like spending my time around douchebags. So those type of clients I definitely turn down as well. And what's ironic about that is that every time that I have given somebody the benefit of a doubt in that situation where they start acting all douchey with the fucking money is no object and I'm fucking, doing big things and all that sort of attitude or whatever, every time I've like made an exception to that, it has turned out exactly the opposite of that, where these are the clients that are like always rescheduling and flaking and don't end up getting the tattoo, or just, I don't know, sit terribly. Like I said, the big bodybuilder dudes that are all fucking have that sort of attitude or whatever, they usually sit like little bitches too. So when I get people that are in the shop like that, I just like find an excuse not to tattoo them and just tell them, maybe you should think about it some more and mull it over, and here's a fucking business card or whatever. And that seems to work pretty well to get them out of there, because in my experience, those people are very impulsive. And as soon as they leave the shop, I literally never see them again, in those type of situations. But yeah, every time I've made an exception and actually try to tattoo one of them, like it's almost never worked out. And that's why I just avoid those clients totally now when they start acting like they're all super money bags and shit. So the fifth and last red flag that I'm going to talk about that makes it so that I don't want to work with a client and kind of look for an exit strategy during that consultation is going to be if that client gives me any sort of impression that I am their employee or their subordinate. And, this is kind of a weird one. I don't know why people do this shit either. It's usually people that have never had a tattoo before or like had very few tattoos. But like I've had clients come into the shop and like kind of talk down to me. I don't know, like they talk to me the same way they would if they were talking to, I wouldn't talk to somebody that comes and does work at my house like this, because I don't talk to anybody like they're my fucking subordinate unless they actually are, like if they're my apprentice or something like that. And even them, I'm pretty polite to the apprentice that I've had in the past. But like they talk to me almost like if I'm like some dude that's just going to like come and do some landscape work for them and pull some weeds out of their fucking yard. And as if they're going to be like my foreman supervising me the entire time during the entire tattoo process. And nothing turns tattoo artists off more than that, because like we're in this shit for ourselves. Like we're all independent contractors. We're all entrepreneurs. We're not the type of people that function well in this like employer-employee type of relationship where somebody's just barking orders at us and we're just like fucking, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And, just jumping through the hoops or whatever, so to speak. It really kind of grinds our gears when people act like that. And I've had plenty of clients do that. I've had people walk into the shop all drunk and then start looking through my portfolio with like some weird, like snooty, critical type of vibe to them. And like basically in the end, like, oh, well, I guess you're good enough. I guess I'll go ahead and hire you for the piece or whatever. And if I decided to hire you and, do this and this, and they like use that word over and over, like they're going to fucking hire me. Yeah, technically, I guess maybe you are fucking, contracting the job with me. You're going to purchase the tattoo from me. you're not fucking hiring me. Like, nobody hires me. I own my own fucking shop. So it just doesn't make any sense when people start talking to me like that. And I don't like people trying to sun me. And I know that, in the past, when people have come in with that sort of attitude, they're actually quite surprised when I tell them that I'm not going to tattoo them and I'm not going to work with them directly. And, it kind of like blows their mind and shit. It's the same type of thing I was talking about earlier, where they're like, well, I have money in my pocket. So do you want this money or do you not want this money? Because I'm ready to spend with you. And that basically means that I can talk to you however the fuck I want. And that is definitely not the case because, like pretty much every other tattoo artist I've met, I don't take any shit. And I'm not trying to have anybody talk to me like I'm their employee or a little kid or anything like that. So when people have any little inkling of that type of attitude right there, I just figure out a way not to tattoo them. And oftentimes, like, depending on how bad it is, like, there's a lot of different degrees to it. If it's to a really high degree, then I'll already feel like I'm wasting my time even consulting with them. So I'll just cut the consult. I won't even like try to figure out a little excuse not to tattoo them. I'll just straight up tell them like, nah, I don't think we're going to work well together. So I'm not the guy for the job or whatever. You know what I mean? And that shortens the interaction so I can actually get back to work and back to tattooing somebody that's actually has their shit together and is treating me like a decent human being, So that's definitely the sort of thing you want to avoid, is trying to talk down to your artist or act like they need you more than you need them. Because odds are, if they're a skilled tattoo artist, they definitely don't. And like I said, especially this year, I might be singing a different fucking tune in a couple years when this economy takes shit. But right now, the demand is much, much higher than the supply. So you want to avoid that if you're looking to get tattooed. So this list right here, I probably could have made it like 30 items deep, fucking 40 items deep. There's over my 9 years of tattooing, I've really honed in and like fine-tuned the way that I evaluate clients and kind of like a checklist, so to speak, on things that they might do that might make it feel like, hey, I maybe don't not want to work with this person or whatever. But I wanted to try to keep this video fairly short. I don't want to, run into a huge laundry list of all these different things. But it is something that's, worth being aware of as a client, especially if you're a serious tattoo collector. I know there's probably a lot of people that might watch this video and be like, fuck this fucking guy. Who does he think he is? Fucking, if I've got my money, then he should fucking take it or whatever. But when you start collecting tattoos from people that actually like really know what they're doing and they have a decent amount of clientele, then you will be kind of evaluated and filtered during the consult, whether you know it or not. So it is something to be aware of. I'm not saying you got to go up in here and walk around eggshells and kiss a tattoo artist's ass, because I don't want someone to fucking do that either with me. It makes me feel weird when people kiss my ass extra during the consult. But definitely, just exercise common sense and just be respectful towards your artist, and just know that their time is valuable and that they don't have to work with you if they don't want to. And that's one of the beautiful things about our job, is that, we really are not obligated to do anything unless we're at a very, very low novice level in our career, which in that case, we'll pretty much do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? We'll jump through all those hoops. But yeah, once, like I said, you get into serious tattoo collecting, you're not going to run into that situation anymore. And it's probably smart to, just be a fucking good person and just be nice and be concise and try your best to communicate with your artist in a way that makes sense, like in terms of the context of what they do for a living and how much demand there is for what they do, So that's about it for the video today. If you felt like this information was helpful and as clients you are interested in kind of knowing about like a little bit more about like tattoo etiquette or just, how to be a better client, then definitely leave that in the comments section. Maybe I'll make another video that's similar to this. I got a few of them in mind for tattoo do's and don'ts and shit like that. But yeah, if you're a tattooer and you have other things that might be like more obvious than this, because I just put this shit together, like my little outline for the video, I just do it like 10 minutes before every video. So there might be other things that are even more obvious, or things that might have even been better to talk about in this video in terms of shit that clients do that are like major red flags that make it so that you choose not to work with them. If you do have those things in mind and you're a tattooer, then go ahead and leave those things in the fucking comments, because I'm pretty interested to know what your guys is like, like your line in the sand is, that when people cross it, you're like, you know what, fuck this. It's kind of interesting to me. because me and a lot of my coworkers have discussions about this shit all the time in terms of like how to weed out like the shitty clients and how not to have to deal with them, because every single time it happens, man, it's like you fucking get done with a 10, 12-hour day working on one of these people, and it's just like, fuck, like it sucked all the energy, all the good energy, that just sucked it out of you. And it feels like totally like you sold your soul at work afterwards. And we'll dissect it and discuss it and try to figure out how to avoid feeling that way in the future. So I know that this is something that tattooers talk about, and it's definitely on all of our minds. But yeah, these are just some of the things that are kind of that stick out to me with regards to this subject. And hopefully, those things might have shed some light on that stuff for you fellow tattooers out there in terms of how to like avoid like the shitty clients. I guess maybe it's worth explaining like how I fucking avoid, like how I end the consult. Like I said, sometimes I'll like suggest to somebody that maybe they need to think about it longer, and tell them to mull it over and just hand them a business card without like doing like, okay, it's time to put up your deposit or whatever. Like I won't close the sale if I don't want to work with them. Or I'll just straight up tell somebody like, hey, maybe I'm not the guy for the job because this type of tattoo right here isn't the one that I excel at. Like, I don't know, I'll maybe even fucking lie to them a little bit and say, oh, I'm going to do a shitty job on this tattoo or it's going to suck, which is only like a half lie, because in some of these cases, they fucking probably would think it's going to suck anyway because they're that neurotic client that wouldn't like anything. I do that. What else do I do? I mean, sometimes I'm pretty direct with them, especially if they're like on the fucking real extreme end of that spectrum and they're just kind of pissing me off. And like I said, I feel like it's a waste of my time to even be polite to them at that point. Sometimes I'm pretty direct with people and I just tell them that I'm not going to tattoo them. Like if they're all drunk and just acting fucking stupid and like being borderline disrespectful. Sometimes I'll recommend them to another artist that is more, I don't know, amicable in terms of putting up all that sort of stuff and jumping through all the hoops for them because they need the business. So it's almost like a win-win for the client and the artist or whatever, because the artist gets the business they need and then the client ends up having their ass kissed the way that they feel like they need. I do those type of things, but yeah, I think that's mainly the method. As far as the exact verbiage and like words that I use or whatever, I just kind of improvise it every time. So I'm not really sure if I can give advice on that, but hopefully that little tidbit at the end of the video helped you out. But yeah, in either case, if you guys want to check out pictures of my tattoos or see what the fuck kind of stuff I'm working on, you can always pop over to my Instagram. It is @JamesWithyTattoo. Or you can go to my website. It's www.jameswithy.com. And I have like an online portfolio on there. And if you're looking to get tattooed by me, then the contact section is on that website. And all you got to do is just make sure to fill out your email with all the information that I've listed on there. Which is probably another one I should have talked about. If people don't fill out the information correctly, then that's another thing that makes it so that I really don't want to have a consult with them, because I'm like, well, if I fucking have all this info on here that I need from you and you didn't fill any of that shit out, then it makes me think that maybe you're not even smart enough to fucking follow through and make all this shit happen to begin with. So yeah, I really don't respond to those people either. Which is off topic, but yeah, that's the end of the video. Have a nice day. I'll see you. Okay, so now that we're at the end, there is one more thing that I want to mention. And that's that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that has like thousands of different classes for creators. And it's a really great way to explore new skills and beef up your knowledge and ability in whatever creative endeavor you choose. The types of classes that you can take on Skillshare are really wide in variety. And they include stuff like freelancing, fine art, videography, filmmaking, all sorts of stuff. One of the classes specifically that I liked when I was looking through the Skillshare website was one called Start Drawing: Techniques for Pencil Portraits, taught by a person named Gabrielle Bricky. One thing I really liked about this course specifically was that she's really comprehensive in the way that she explains everything in terms of like how to draw a pencil portrait. So she covers like different materials you'll need to start the process, specific techniques that you might be using when you're drawing pencil portraits. And also one thing that I really liked was that she covered like the anatomy of the human face, which is super important if you want to be a good portrait artist, to like know where those anatomical landmarks are, so that you can kind of recognize them more easily when you're matching information from the reference to the actual art you're creating. So yeah, overall Skillshare is a really great learning tool regardless of your current level of skill, like whether or not you're a novice or whether or not you're intermediate or advanced. And it's really great because there's no ads, and they're also constantly putting on like new material onto the website so that there are new classes for you to continue your learning. The first 1,000 people that click on the link in the description of this video are going to get a 1-month free trial membership of Skillshare. And yeah, go ahead and try it out and see if you like it. Hopefully you benefit from it. Thanks for watching.